Hi, I have been working on a motion tracking for a character animator for a while. So far, I've been working on a real-time or close to real-time motion capture. I do like how it flows when we record and replay, but when we record live performance, it can work strange or arm flip may lag. Today we'll explore how to improve the motion capture by introducing the stop-motion animation style. If we work with a character animator, we can open the face behavior and adjust pose-to-pose movement and a minimum pose duration. Pose duration is how long you should hold the pose before the character will follow you. Pose-to-pose tend to work well on 100%. The last thing that we want to adjust here is smoothing. That will change the transition between the poses from immediate to smooth. But face behavior in character animator only covers the head movement, so we want to replicate the same thing with our custom motion capture tracking. To do that, we need to make certain adjustments. Today we will cover how to set things up in Adobe Character Animator, how to track joints and update them only if changes are significant enough, so if we move slightly, a character will stay in the same spot. In order to get from first position to the second position, we need to define the smoothing and how long it takes for the character to get there, so basically we'll need to replicate the face behavior and the smoothing setting. Finally, we add the anticipation of the movement and the follow-through. Those are very fundamental concepts in animations that are missing from the character animation workflow at the moment. Anticipation of the movement is what happens before we change the pose. For example, we can move to the opposite direction from the intended one a bit, and it will help us to make the movement much more pronounced. Let's see an example. Here is a booth throwing the carrot. If we play the animation forward, it looks like a bunny goes flying. But if we rearrange the same images, but the bear is moving back first, the movement looks much more expressive and interesting. Let's compare them side by side. When we finish the movement, we want to animate stop using the same principle as before, but in this case we tried to make stopping animation look pretty. I like the style of the odds one out, so we will try to replicate that today. Let's open the scene with quickly drafted character and see what we need to set. We have the scaling and rotation options that are used for motion capture control. I will use the MIDI controller to demonstrate everything on the odd one out character. We pre-rigged the character in a way that described in this video and control it with a MIDI. You can see that we have the sliders to control the arm rotation, and we can scale the arm on the X and Y axis. We can grab the scale X, scale Y, and rotate controllers and put them on a control panel. Then we can find appropriate range to move the arm slightly to finish the movement and have a little bit of a bounce that we can use at the end or at the beginning. When we move the slider up and down later, we can use these ranges to record our performance. And we can see we can press the button or move the slider and the odds one out character squashes a little bit. The faster we move it, the more pronounced the movement is. We really want to make it very subtle. We can run recording and add the knob to the movement, or we can use the hotkeys to record the movement. But the problem here is that it's very hard to time your knob movement or button press precisely at the right time to have a good synchronization with the face behavior. Plus, the final recording is all in one chunk, so it's very hard to adjust things when we finish the recording. One good way to go about it is to create a smaller chunk of animation and copy-paste it on a timeline as you go along. But the problem here is that it takes quite a bit of a time, and if you have multiple ways the character needs to go from point A to point B, it can get confusing very fast. So let's automate the final issue and add ability to move the arms without the beta features of the character animator. After this, it's all done with the code. You can refer to the GitHub link to get all the files for this project. With the code, we have a couple of adjustments. First, I have a long delay for moving the joints and a pause after we finish moving. Second, I want to add the extra movement to speed up functionality or move between point A to point B different based on whatever joints we're using, but this is a little bit for the future version. So far, I just add the 2-second delay in Character Animator and 1-second delay for arm movement. This is a nice balance between the moving fast and smooth. But since we have the granular control over the hands, we can now also add the anticipation and follow through for our movement. So basically we recorded this thing before and we reviewed it, we record the trigger, and now we just use this trigger before we start moving, which makes our arm move slightly before. Additionally, if we do it this way, we can also use flexible rotation and add even more expressiveness for our character. This way we can record performance with follow-through and anticipation without manually going through all the recording later on and save a lot of time on animation. We'll continue to develop this part to manage different poses automatically, to cycle between poses on stream, so the character has a more interesting look. But to do this, you'll have to wait a moment. Cheers.